Are the Chargers an actual threat to the Chiefs this year? Chargers. Don't take any disrespect by what I'm about to say. No, not at all. Let's give it some time to develop. I get it. We're all excited about the Chargers, and Justin Herbert looks really good, and they have the wide receivers, Keenan Allen. I know how you get when we talk about you on TV. This is all coming from a loving place. But I can sit here and tell you about the amount of games that you have lost over the last couple of seasons. And I get it. If you're a Chargers fan and you're familiar with the team, you'll say, well, Nate, 80% of those were one possession games, and or we lost by 1 point, and it came down to the wire. Okay, that's fine. But you have to win games over a sustained amount of time before I can tell you that you're a legitimate threat to one of the best teams we have seen in decades. This isn't no flash in the pan. Now, if the Chiefs had one good season and they were terrible last year, I'd say sure. Yeah, they can compete within the AFC West. But the simple fact that the Chiefs have went to back-to-back Super Bowls and they took Tom Brady, down to Tampa and lost, that right there shows me that, one, these guys are going to be a great regular season team. They will always be in the playoffs, and they are going to make their way to a Super Bowl almost every single season. What have you done for me lately, Chargers? So that's the only reason why I can't sit here, and say, you know what? Yeah, they're good. I get it. The hype is real, and they got a new coach. They're going to figure it out. No. They're going to have to show me, because there have been times over the last handful of years where we've got excited. Shout out to Anthony Lynn, but how many times did we wake up and have the Idris Elba of coaches come on our show with their beautiful gray beard and tell us how he's looking forward to this season for the Chargers, and we got all excited. And what happens? The Chargers, they don't fulfill expectations. So until they can prove that they are consistent and show that they can compete within the division, then I'll have to answer that. But 2 games this year up against the Chiefs, that's going to tell us all we need to know. After those 2 games, I'll be able to answer that question a lot better.
You know, Nate, I agree with everything you just said, but when you look particularly at Justin Herbert, I'm so interested to watch how his career pans out. Obviously, the first year went very well, thank you. And part of that reason, guys, was he stayed at Oregon for the duration of his career. I spoke last season to Mario Cristobal, the head coach at Oregon, and he mentioned to me that in his 4th season, one of the things Herbert was able to do was really galvanize the team. His teammates really rallied around him. And I thought I saw some of that when they played in Buffalo this year. He went toe to toe for the most part with Josh Allen, 31 for 52, 316 yards, a touchdown. We watched him escape pressure at times and look really, really poised, quote unquote, for a rookie. And I'm not sure you even have to say the for a rookie part. He simply looked really poised. So I think that his time will come, but perhaps not now in terms of challenging the Chiefs. And one other thing briefly, it's not a knock on a quarterback to not measure him up to the Patrick Mahomes standard. Patrick Mahomes may stand alone in this league for a long time to come, but Justin Herbert's really, really good, and it's going to be fun to watch him in his sophomore season.
It absolutely is. I think he's a dark horse, even not a dark horse. He's an MVP candidate. That is the expectations for these quarterbacks in year 2 now, as we saw Mahomes in his 2nd year really take the league by storm, and then Lamar Jackson did the same thing, and then Josh Allen in his 3rd year went and did that last year. So maybe Herbert's that guy this season. It's funny with Mahomes. How much more of a headline would have been if he just nailed the landing? Kay, you're right with what you said in the quote. He said, I'll see it when I believe it. That was his response. And it's like, you botched it, Mahomes. He's just such a nice guy. He can't even get the trash talk down. It's like when life gives you lemonade, you give them lemons. Like he just couldn't land it. But other than that, this would have been a big story, I think, because he does have a little bit of edge. I think he's listening. I think he's heard a lot of people talking about Justin Herbert. And what has Justin Herbert accomplished? He was great last year. He had Troy Aikman absolutely gobsmacked last year on the broadcast when they played the Raiders. And everyone agrees that Herbert had one of the best rookie seasons we've seen from a quarterback in some time. The Chargers weren't good last year. Chargers coach got fired. The entire offensive staff got blown out. The entire defensive staff got blown out. And Mahomes, he doesn't lose to the Chargers. He lost 1 time on a Thursday night game to Phillip Rivers in Arrowhead. But overall, he's owned this franchise. So I love what LA did this offseason. I love what they did bringing in Corey Linsley. And I think what they did on the offensive line in the draft, getting Slater and then getting the big boy, the anchor from Pittsburgh, and putting him on the offensive line. They're doing everything right. It's not like they can't. And they're going to get Derwin James back. And we could talk about that all day long. To Nate's point and to Patrick Mahomes' point, I'll see it when I believe it.
Okay, so I can tell, Shregs, you love that he said it. When I read the quote, it was out of context. I didn't see him walking down the fairway. I didn't see a fan trolling him, whatever. If this was, Patrick Mahomes is nice, as you said, so buttoned up. If this was a sit-down interview, he wouldn't have said that. If it was, a press conference, he wouldn't have said it. He wouldn't have been caught like that. Nate, do you like hearing this sort of quote from Patrick Mahomes in general? Because yes, edge is one thing, arrogance is another.
Yeah, I love it. I love it for the simple fact that he has been dominant, not just in the NFL, but when you look at the division specifically. Like, there's a difference between, being a good player in the NFL and then knowing that you dominate your immediate competition. People don't understand how competitive it is to win within your division and then walk away in the offseason knowing that. I remember coming in the league and people telling me, hey, the NFC North is the black and blue division. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Are you talking about the colors of the Lions? I don't get what you're saying. No. When you play within the NFC North, you're going to walk away feeling a lot different. And I'm like, I'm a football player. I've been playing football since I was 8.
Right.
And how's it any different than any other team I played against? But it was different, okay? When I would leave those games as a Minnesota Viking player playing against the Lions and the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears, I was bruised up, battered and bruised up. Now imagine Patrick Mahomes, knowing that within his division, he is literally sitting on the throne because he's the king. So all this hype surrounding all these other teams, the Vegas Raiders or the Denver Broncos or now the Chargers, I'll have to see it when I believe it. Because you guys have been shooting your arrows at the throne and been missing since I've gotten in the league. Until they actually hit and make Xerxes bleed, then I don't want to hear it either.
Love it. We put a question out to you guys on Twitter. We thank you guys for choosing us on this Tuesday morning. Which AFC quarterback is the guy whose arrows can make Xerxes bleed? Who's the biggest rival to Patrick Mahomes in the AFC as far as quarterbacks are concerned? Twitter, what say you? Baker's going to be a problem. Baker, the Browns, we talked about them as Super Bowl contenders just yesterday. LaRue Linson saying Justin Herbert, simply because he's got game and they play twice a year. Yeah, I'm into this rivalry, and Patrick Mahomes, no fear in stoking that over the weekend. And I'm Titan Rick, says in the famous words of Kyle Brandt, Ryan Tannehill,